Nordic countries have been consistently ranking at the top of the happiest countries in the world. But why are they considered happier? Is it the country's situation itself? Or is it the habits of the people living there? I'm set out to find exactly what makes them so happy. There are lots of factors taken into consideration for these rankings, like the work-life balance, the sort of politics they have, the education system, and lots of other different factors that come into play here. As someone who's moved from Romania to the UK about 5 years ago and has found a lifestyle that really fits our family here, I can realistically say we're probably not going to move to a Nordic country, at least not anytime soon. But I thought, how can I incorporate some of their habits into my life to make it a bit simpler and a bit calmer? This is something I've been doing for the past few years, and these are some of the habits that we've started using in our family that have made a pretty big change. The first concept I learned from the Nordic countries is friluftsliv, and it's one of the things that people in Nordic countries really prioritize, from what I've learned. So they really prioritize getting outside as much as possible. And one thing I have noticed, even for us as a family of 4, is especially when you have kids, sometimes if we're having a hard day, sometimes we're struggling, when you feel like kids are bouncing off the walls, the best thing we can do is just head outside. It doesn't even matter what we do. It doesn't mean it has to be this expensive full day out to a special entertainment place. It can simply be a walk in the park or a hike or just spending time in nature. Maybe making a little treasure map where they can find pine cones and different leaves and spot birds. It can be those simple things that can make a big difference. Nowadays, we try to get outside every single day. Very rarely do we have a day that's fully inside. And I think that's really helped our mental state as a family. It's been proven time and time again that getting outdoors, having a little walk, and doing these things out in nature can help so much with your physical health, with your mental state, and just with your general well-being. When I read Mo Gaudat's book, Solve for Happy, one of the things that really struck me was the fact that he mentioned in childhood, when you look at a child's life, their default state is happy and content, unless it's something external that's bothering them or disturbing them, such as, as babies when they're hungry, their nappy needs change, they have a tummy ache. If they don't have any of those issues, then their default state is just calm and content. And at the end of the day, happy. This really stuck with me, and it made me realize that sometimes the pursuit of happiness might not be trying to accumulate things or get to the next status or reach the next goal, like saying to myself, oh, when I reach 100k YouTube subscribers, that's when I'll be happy. Or when you buy a bigger house, or when you get the next job. All of those goals we set for ourselves do have a purpose and they can serve us in life, but it doesn't mean those are going to make us happy. Hygge, am I pronouncing that right? Reminds me of Amanda in Motherland when she says hygge. This simply means creating a cozy and warm atmosphere away from the daily rush, where we can enjoy either time alone or spending time with loved ones and people that we appreciate in our life. And this concept is something that not only makes our homes nicer, but it also makes the people living inside those homes a bit happier too. It doesn't have to be this big, complicated change we need to do in our homes. It's just about creating that cozy, calm space in our homes where we can enjoy the little moments more. Like, for example, at the end of the day, we can enjoy reading a book in our favorite nook rather than spend it frantically trying to catch up on house chores. Or it can also mean creating a clutter-free home so that we feel comfortable inviting people over and hosting little gatherings with people in our lives and spending that quality time together. Because at the end of the day, as humans, we are social beings and we thrive when we have a bit of both, right? Both alone time and spending quality time with people we love. A big one that really struck me was their work-life balance. Is this where they really got it right? They say work to live, not live to work. One statistic that really struck me as I was doing research for this video is that in Sweden, the average work week is about 30 hours, whereas in the UK, for example, it's about 42 hours per week. It's also been said that countries like Finland, Denmark, and Sweden are some of the top that offer flexible working hours, which can make a big difference when you're trying to balance out your work and your life. And I think this especially comes into play when you have kids. At least that's what I found in our case. Some people living in Nordic countries have said that affordable and quality childcare, along with these flexible hours, is one of the best things about living in a Nordic country. And when I look around at our community of moms that we have around here in the UK, the school system and the childcare system for babies and toddlers, you can clearly see that there needs to be some sort of sacrifice here and there. So either the mom won't work for a while until maybe the child starts at school, or she will need flexible hours, which is what I need as well. Or you might need somebody else to take care of kids while you are at work, like for example, have a grandparent or somebody in the family. And for some of us, it's not an option. Like for us, because we moved here, we obviously don't have family close by to take care of kids while we do work. And so I can see how having a better work-life balance here in Nordic countries can significantly reduce the stress levels of working parents and make them happier in general. For example, for me, when we had our first baby, I very quickly realized that I will not be able to go back to work full time unless we did some sort of sacrifices like I mentioned before. And so that was my push to really go ahead and work hard on my online business that I do here through YouTube, my blog, Instagram, everything that I do on social media. And I'm really grateful to say that now I can do this full time, and it's given me a lot of flexibility. Had I not had this, I think it would have been a much more stressful situation. Is it still a juggle? Yes, absolutely. But I do think being flexible in working hours is one of the main habits that I took from this, and it's one of the main things that will help us feel calmer and happier as well. And it's not just for parents, for people in general. We all want to have time to work on our hobbies, to work on our maybe side businesses, anything we want to do in our personal life. By the way, if you do need help with maybe starting and growing your own online business, kind of similar to what I do here, then I have a whole range of free resources for you to just help you get started. Like my 12-month blog plan has been downloaded by tens of thousands of people who found it helpful. I have a YouTube guide to kind of help you get started on YouTube, and lots of other little freebies that can help you get started. I also have some paid programs, but I think the freebies are a really good place for you to start if you want to kind of grow your business and kind of see what all of this looks like behind the scenes. I will link all of those freebies in the description box. No shoes inside. I actually had no idea this was a Nordic habit. I think this is something we've been doing pretty much our whole lives. This is something we grew up doing the same in Romania. Maybe it was just our family values growing up, but we've always followed this rule of no shoes inside because you don't want to be bringing in not just rain or snow or mud, but just like dirt from outside. And I think this is especially important in British homes where a lot of the time you will have a carpet right inside, and it's not something you can simply mop over and have it all clean. So the no shoes inside rule makes a lot of sense to me, and it's something we've been doing for our entire lives basically. The 3 things rule. All of these rules are not like fast rules that you need to follow strictly, but it's just kind of guidelines to give us an idea. So this rule is all about keeping our to-do list to the bare essentials, because having a to-do list that is like 10 or 20 items long every single day and not being able to accomplish all of those because it can be unrealistic, that can feel really stressful. And our whole goal here is to feel happier and calmer, right? What I've been doing for my work, for example, on my to-do list, I will put 2, maybe 3 things that are the main things I want to accomplish that day. Now, not saying that I might not do other stuff aside from that, but for example, today I have 2 videos I want to film. This one right here, and then I have another one. Now, when I finish this, depending on how much time I have left, I might do some other little jobs like, replying on Instagram, maybe posting something on Instagram, replying to emails, but my main 2 tasks are those. And I try not to overwhelm my to-do list because then it kind of dissipates my focus and it just makes me less productive and more stressed, which is not really what we want. Lagom. It's the concept of not too much, not too little. And this is something I've noticed a lot in Nordic countries. It seems like the focus is less is more. So when the 2 extremes might be having an extremely cluttered home versus being extremely minimalist, lagom seems to be somewhere in the middle, right? So finding the right balance that works for us, where we don't have a cluttered space, we have a calm, airy space, but we still have the necessities that make our lives easier and more convenient. And this might look differently for everybody. What I found helpful is to think about my ideal day. What would I be doing? Who would I be with? and what sort of items would I be using in that day. So I would definitely wake up and still do my skincare, my makeup routine. I would still need those items. I would love to put on a nice outfit that I enjoy wearing. I would absolutely spend the day with my family, a bit at home, a bit outside, because I find that balance works best for us. But when I think about the amount of items I would need in my ideal day, it's actually not that much. And it made it a lot easier for me to think about the items that I can declutter, because a lot of the items that don't fit into that are not really necessary. Of course, there are little like household items and cleaning products, but all the clutter, the unnecessary, the things we keep because we think they're sentimental, but they're actually making us maybe not feel great when we look at them. Getting rid of those kinds of items will really serve us and help us feel happier in time. Kind of feels like the weight has been lifted a bit when you do that. Eating meals early. I actually didn't know this is a Nordic habit. I picked this habit up from my kids. Because when your kids wake up at 5 and you have breakfast at 6 because you're already hungry, then naturally your lunch will be a bit earlier, sometimes between 11 and 12, which is very early according to standards in other countries. And we will have dinner a bit early too. After we get back from the school run, we will usually have dinner around 5. Sometimes for the kids, even a little bit earlier, like 4:30. Because I find when we come back from school, they do have a little bit of snacks on the way home, but if we get home and I only serve dinner at, let's say, 7 p.m., then between the time we get home and 7 p.m., they will be asking for more snacks. So instead of giving them more snacks and then having them not eat a lot of dinner, I would rather them have dinner early and then maybe a few snacks or like pudding dessert later if they really want it. And then after dinner, now that the weather is nicer and the days are longer, we can sometimes go out for another little walk, maybe go to the park a little bit more, or just chill in the garden, or just have time for ourselves to unwind with a puzzle, a book, or just building with toys with my kids. So it's not only freeing up space in the evening instead of spending it, cooking and cleaning and tidying, but it also means at the end of the day, we don't go to bed with a very full and uncomfortable tummy. So yeah, that's one habit we've incorporated without really intending for it to happen. Walking and cycling more. When I asked my husband about his work trip to Sweden, he mentioned how one of the things that really stood out to him was how a lot of people took the bike for transportation even in bad weather. So that's something we try to incorporate more now. For our default, when we go on the school run, for example, to go walk instead of always taking the car. I'm not saying we don't take the car ever, but getting those steps in, getting some fresh air, maybe stopping at the playground with the kids after school, all of those things really help us have a better balance. And I feel like it makes all of us just a tiny bit happier in our day. Keeping surfaces mostly clear. I've noticed this tendency in Nordic cultures to have surfaces mostly clear of clutter, access decor items. Not that you can't have any decor, but it's all about having those intentional pieces that you love looking at, rather than having shelves and tables and side tables all covered in things. This is something I've been doing for a while now, since I've been more on this minimalist side of things. And it's helped so much with not only with the visual clutter, so that stress level of seeing all of those items every day, but it also speeds up cleaning, because going to clean a surface that's not that cluttered, you just move one item out the way, give it a clean and put it back. Whereas if you have 100 items, that's going to take a lot longer and it's going to take a lot more effort too. So they really focus more on being functional, airy, calm, rather than having surfaces full of clutter and knickknacks. And they also focus on those simple daily rituals, like for example, doing a morning yoga or a little morning stretch, workout, having an evening tea to wind down, and also things like avoiding rushing by preparing lots of things the night before, so that in the morning you're more ready to go and not as stressed and like frantically trying to head out the door. This is something I've been trying to do. I don't do it every day, but I noticed that on the nights where I take the time to prep the kids' school lunch boxes, water bottles, everything like that, their clothes maybe, the mornings go a lot smoother, a lot easier. I'm more calm and I can focus a lot more on the kids and helping them have a good start of their day rather than stressing out and trying to rush out the door. Let me know what other Nordic habits you have learned about, maybe something you're currently using in your life. I would love to hear that. I hope this was helpful and I will see you in the next one.